All right, and we're live. Let me just make sure everything sounds okay. And come on. All right, sounds fine. All right, so happy Memorial Day, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the day. And first thing I want to get into, I was tempted to bring it up yesterday, but it was a bit too far off topic. Even though the stream naturally went off topic anyways, but I wasn't gonna further that inevitable problem. But so there's the new Powerpuff Girls show, and if you followed it at all, you know the new Powerpuff Girls show is full of SJW horseshit. The real irony being the original was not even close. There was actually an anti-feminist character in the original run of Powerpuff Girls. But this current, I don't know. I don't even know if this is a reboot or if it's just a continuation. I'm not an expert on Powerpuff Girls continuity. I enjoyed the original show a lot, but I couldn't tell you if this is a reboot or not. I've only been able to watch a little bit of the new stuff because it's just bad. Never mind the SJW stuff. Just the overall quality is just so poor. Often in ways you can't even quite put your finger on initially. Just poor quality. Well, the current little e-drama going on here, little drama that the interwebs is talking about. There's a writer for Powerpuff Girls, Jarrett Shapiro. There's a bit of an echo to that. Jarrett Shapiro, he in the episodes he writes, and only apparently the episodes he writes, a character shows up that is an obvious an obvious self-insert. Obvious. This character looks just like him. And this self-insert fucking Mary Sue character is a love interest for Blossom. This writer, this grown-ass fucking man, inserted himself into a children's show so that he could be the love interest for a character that is a kindergartner. That's the joke of the show. They're 5-year-olds with superpowers. That's part of the whole fucking setup of the show. And don't get me wrong, little kids get crushes on each other. That happens. They don't entirely understand those feelings, but sometimes, they get little bubbles of those feelings, even prepubescent. And again, I'm not saying that, before anybody takes this out of context, I'm not saying it's wrong that they're writing an episode where a little kid has a crush on another little kid. That would be fucking stupid. No. What I'm saying is, this grown-ass man is self-inserting himself to be the love interest of a fucking 5-year-old. Now, yeah, the self-insert character is also the same age, I guess. Wow. This is... Are there any of you fucking hipster leftist SJW shitheads that aren't incredibly fucked up in the head? Like, one of you? Is it just one among you that doesn't... Wow. Somebody says self-inserting a character who wants to insert into another character. Yeah, that's it's kind of what's going on there. And I wish I had Luke. Trust me, I'll talk about it next Saturday when I have Luke on here too, so we could show you some pictures, because there's some screen caps that it's something to behold. I'll tell you that right now. Something to behold. So Powerpuff Girls was a pretty damn good cartoon back in the day. Yeah, it was a goofy kids cartoon, but I mean, hell, I watched it back in the day, and I was already a teenager, and it still caught my attention. It was a fun little superhero parody. It was a cute kids cartoon. It was a good family cartoon, I should even say. You know, it's easy to do kids entertainment. It's easy to do just some stupid schlock that kids will eat up. Um, it's much harder to do something that the whole family could enjoy. And Powerpuff Girls was in that latter camp. Not no more than. I'll tell you what, if I had a kid right now, I wouldn't let that kid watch any fucking modern cartoons unless I sit down and carefully vet them. Like, I hate to sound like one of those overprotective parents, but these days, damn, you know, it, ugh, ugh. Um, yeah, I mean, and there's no shortage of classic kids cartoons, anyways. I mean, you can pick up, I'll pick up DuckTales or Darkwing Duck or the old X-Men or Spider-Man or hell yeah, Batman 90s cartoons on DVD. You should watch those, kids. All right, I wouldn't even have fucking cable if I had kids. I wouldn't let that shit in the house. I will watch it and vet it and maybe let you watch it. Like modern cartoons, I don't know. Maybe I'd let them watch like fucking Gravity Falls or We Bare Bears. Those seem harmless enough. But some garbage like fucking Steven Universe, hell no. When I was a kid, my dad wouldn't let me watch fucking Pee Wee Herman. Now, I never particularly wanted to watch Pee Wee Herman. I never had much of an interest in it. But typically, kids' shows often get way. There were a lot of kids' shows I watched as a little kid just because I was waiting for another show. You know what I mean? Like, this would be wedged between two shows you would watch, and there'd be nothing else on, and you'd just be like, okay, I guess I'll sit through this just while I'm waiting. Pee Wee Herman would have been one of those shows. I never gave a fuck about it, but my dad caught it one time and was like, "You're not watching that. No, I don't want you watching that ever again." And I watched it as an adult a few years ago, just out of curiosity, and I was like, "Good call, Dad," because that shit's fucked up. And that's like all the fucking cartoons right now. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't let a kid watch a fucking Disney Channel or, the Disney Channel and Nickelodeon now, they're parading around all these teenage fucking thoughts. You're going to jumpstart your boy's puberty a little too soon watching those shows. But no, I wouldn't let them watch almost any of that shit. Again, Gravity Falls, from what I've seen, is harmless, and We Bare Bears seems harmless. I haven't watched a tremendous amount of those, but what I have seen of them, I've liked. But no, I mean, you want to watch Powerpuff Girls? Fine, I'll get you fucking old Powerpuff Girls on DVD. You watch all those because they're fantastic. But you're not watching this new crap. No. Mm-mm. And it's not even just the message. Like, the quality is so much worse. Never mind the politics and the paused and all that other bullshit. I mean, I was no fan of the original Teen Titans cartoon from the mid 2000s, but you compare that to, say, Teen Titans Go. I mean, no, though that's almost a bad example because Teen Titans Go is meant to be a fucking joke. I think, in all fairness, the original Teen Titans cartoon kind of sucked. I mean, it wasn't bad, but you compare it to contemporaries like, Justice League Unlimited, which was on at the same time. There's no comparison. Let's see. Somebody says new SpongeBob is weird. I never watched SpongeBob almost at all, basically. My knowledge of SpongeBob is like 99% from fucking memes. Yes, the laziness of modern Flash animation. That came about in the mid 2000s. There were a lot of cheap ass cartoons that were, and I'm not necessarily against using it if it's saving you money. And, I don't know. I mean, writing there's no excuse for lazy writing. Let me put it that way. You know, animation by nature is going to be more time consuming. If you cut corners with animation, that way you can churn things out much faster. But lazy writing, there's no excuse for it. Because writing by nature isn't as time consuming. I mean, you know, you can in theory write a whole fucking season of a cartoon in over a weekend if you're inspired. But no matter how inspired you are, you obviously can't animate it that fast. Somebody says Batman confronting Ace before she dies was tearful. Oh, yes, and Justice League Unlimited. Justice League Unlimited was absolutely fantastic. The Superman cartoon was pretty damn great. The 90s Batman animated series is perhaps one of the greatest cartoons ever made. It's there's no comparison. You know, earlier today, because I ordered food, I heard the doorbell go off, and I found myself with quite a tinge of sadness because, you know, just a few months ago, the doorbell going off, all hell would break loose in here as my little dog would go absolutely ape shit. I mean, he went nuts. He didn't even sound like he was barking at that point. He would make this, it sounded like some sort of autistic scream bark. I can't even describe it. Just so weird, just so excited with the doorbell ringing. So yeah, it was the first time I heard the doorbell in quite a while. For about a split second, my initial reaction was, "Oh crap, I'm gonna have to grab Loki." You know, whenever the doorbell would ring, I'd have to, you know, restrain the little retard. Damn, I miss that little dog. Let's see. Chat here. Static Shock was fun. Yeah, it was all right. Somebody says it was red pilled as fuck. I don't really know how Static Shock was red pilled as fuck. I'd have to go back and watch to get what you're saying there. Let's see. What else did I want to talk about this? Scroll. Well, you know what? I mentioned this on Twitter, but I'll mention this again because it's weird. I can't quite put my finger on why, but somebody was asking me like, "Are you going to get Injustice 2?" Because I mean, obviously, I'm a big comic book fan, right? I must love the Injustice games. I've never played any of the Injustice games, and I can't explain why, but I just have no interest in them. And I mean, I love superheroes. I love DC superheroes. I like fighting games. I even thoroughly enjoyed the Injustice prequel that DC published as a comic. And I have no interest in either one of those games, and I can't explain why, but something about both of them just thoroughly gives me this gut reaction of meh. Like, I can't even explain it. Something about them. They look thoroughly mediocre to me. And no idea why. No idea why. But somehow they just completely put me off. Let's see. Scroll through here. I just heard on the radio today that Lisa Loeb's going to be up in New York at Carlisle Cafe starting June 6th. And I always had a soft spot for her. I really liked Lisa Loeb back in the day. And I thought, oh, that'd be cool. And I'm going to be up in New York from the 6th with family. My dad is going up there with a couple of basically nephews. It's like really close friends of the family that, you know, for all intents and purposes are nephews kind of thing. You know, he's taking them up there. He's gonna go to the Intrepid Museum. The one kid is all about Lego. Is going to take him over to Lego World in New York, that kind of stuff. A little day trip. And I was going to go with him because I'm an unemployed bum. What the fuck else am I going to do? And I was thinking like, oh man, I'm going to be up there. But of course, I'm leaving before then. I'm like, I spent a good about half an hour trying to think of a way I could make that work. Like, could I, but I can't. Like the train tickets are already bought. So I don't know if you can trade it in for a later train ride, but then, if I'm getting in way ass later, my car's not going to be there because they have to take 2 cars or something. There's just no real way I could make it work. It's kind of a shame. But it was sort of a tease. Like I just heard it on the radio today, and it's like, yeah, right when you're going to be up in New York, but you can't go. Kind of a tease. But yeah, I always had a soft spot for Lisa Loeb. Kind of nerdy girl next door. I could get on that. Plus, I like her as a singer. Decent little voice. Somebody in the chat says, controversial opinion. I like Black Green Lantern, Jon Stewart the best, mostly due to animated Justice League TV shows. I like Jon Stewart. I prefer Hal. But yeah, John would probably be my second choice. And I thought he fit pretty well in the Justice League cartoon because the guy has a military background. He's a former Marine, and he brought a certain level of professionalism to the Justice League in that cartoon that I thought was well needed. A certain level of discipline. Let's see. Legos, everything is awesome. Yep, that they are. The Lego movie is surprisingly good. It's far better than it has any right to be. It's actually really interesting how it kind of shits on modern Lego. How, it used to be when I was a kid, you got a Lego set, and I mean, they were like specialized sets. You had castle themed ones with space themed ones, and pirate themed ones were the main sets. And I mean, it was still kind of generic, like within the castle stuff, there was the forest people like Robin Hood. There was like the wolf pack raider dudes, and then the knights and the black knights and whatnot. But like you'd buy like a big old castle and you'd build the castle, and there'd be like a good chunk of extra pieces because there was actually also, you could build like 2 smaller castles, and they kind of encouraged you to experiment more. Well, you get a Lego set now, it's not like that at all. I mean, there's not basically any extra pieces, and it's build this one thing. A toy that should be about exploring creativity becomes just, here's how you follow the directions exactly. And interestingly enough, the Lego movie kind of shit on that a little bit, which was really surprising for what you would almost expect would be nothing more than a 90-minute Lego commercial. Let's see. People talking about moral oral in the chat. I never cared for that show. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind when people want to parody some of the moral faggotry coming out of Christianity. I'm pretty apt to speak out about some of that too, but yeah, moral oral was never as clever as it thought it was. The other thing I want to talk about, and I brought this up on Twitter, and it resulted in a number of people back and forth into responses I could barely keep track of, to be honest. But I had said on there, like, one of the ways I kind of part ways with some of my fellow alt-right Christians, and I use that term in the broadest sense, just new right, dissident right, whatever you want to call it. And this is mostly because most of them are Catholic, I think. Are a large or loud portion of them are. I just can't get behind the obsession with church architecture that a lot of them have. Now, there's 2 things here. First of all, I don't have nearly the problem with modern architecture that and many of my fellow alt-rightists do. Some modern architecture outright kicks ass. I have no real love for the brutalist crap, but, you know, you go to any major city with, you know, step back and look at the skyline, and I can't help but be impressed by the skyscrapers. I love that. I like futuristic even architecture. I like sleek and glass and concrete and things like that. I like modern architecture. I wouldn't say I like postmodern or brutalist. But sleek, refined, sexy modern architecture, I like it. It's not that I don't like traditional architecture. It has its place. But, you know, the past should be something that guides us towards a future. It should not necessarily be something that tethers us, holds us back. You know, I have no interest in the Amish right, as it were. Well, Pittsburgh skyline. Oh man, Pittsburgh skyline is absolutely gorgeous. The architecture in downtown Pittsburgh is beautiful. I used to live out there a while back. But anyways, because I'm constantly seeing like these memes all the fucking time where it's like they take some ornate fucking church, all these stained glass windows and, you know, spirals and all this kind of crap. Spiral, I don't know, whatever. Steeples, I meant to say, whatever. And that's all well and good. That's great. I'm not saying there's anything remotely wrong with that. And then they'll, you know, take this little church in a box, you know, where it's just a pastor at a podium and there's maybe a cross behind him, and, you know, that's about it. I'm like, oh, look at this. I like that shit sometimes. I really do. I mean, it's nice to have nice architecture. That's all well and good, but you're too concerned with the outside appearance, and it's just pharisaical, in my opinion. Some of the most, one of the most amazing sermons and amazing times of fellowship I had literally occurred in a dude's basement. You know, there was a pastor that left a church. It was I knew through a friend who literally basically started a church in his, you know, at his house. And a great pastor. He just left due to some internal politics, which I know firsthand happens. But yeah, now some people pointed out that there's a lot of modern churches that will build these just ugly brutalist churches, and I don't like that. Because here's the thing: there's the opposite heresy, as it were. There's the opposite, you know, falsehood, where you can be like purposely making ugly ass shit just to prove that you're not concerned with the outside appearance. Well, that's not humility. That's false humility. Pardon me. And again, nothing wrong with the outward appearance. It's almost sort of like, you know, worship music. There's nothing inherently wrong with, you know, old organs and that sort of stuff for worship music. In fact, some of that's extremely beautiful. But there's also nothing wrong with, you know, people, you know, having drums and fucking guitars for the worship music either. You know, it's much more concerning how much real heart and soul is poured into the music than the exact instrument. But honestly, what I see a lot of non-denominational churches do, and I think this is absolutely perfect. I love this. Is they're just, I mean, you know, we live in a time of retail apocalypse right now. A lot of empty storefronts, aren't there? And that's exactly what I see a lot of these church. My actual church meets in the, you know, in the gym of an elementary school, and you know, that's fine with me. Pretty buildings are not why I get up early Sunday morning. You know, generally speaking, I don't wake up early unless I'm being paid to. So, you know, looking at a pretty building is not why I get up. And again, yes, I know architecture can be very uplifting to the soul and all that good stuff. I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all. I'm not saying that it's not nice to have. I'm saying it's a luxury. A nice building is a luxury, and it's a luxury most of the early church did, or early churches didn't have, I might add. Um, if you're treating it as any kind of essential thing, you're giving it too much importance. It's tertiary at best. And like I said, also the guys that build a purposely ugly church just to show that they're not concerned with that, that's the opposite idiocy. Reverse stupidity is not genius. But what I really like seeing is I like seeing when these storefronts get turned into churches. I like seeing old buildings that were something else get turned into churches. I find that far more beautiful than if you were to build a new church with, the most gorgeous architecture in the world. The reason being is that the Christianity is about redemption. It's about redeeming. It's about reclaiming. It's about rebuilding. So to take existing abandoned architecture and repurpose that for a church, that is far more beautiful than anything else I can think to do if you intend to plan a church. That is something I find far more moving. That said, though, the church isn't a building. The church is the body of believers. And it's nice to have a nice building. That's all well and good. It's nice to make it as nice as you can. That's all well and good. But that's not that important. That's a tertiary thing at best. And it's always going to be. Let's see. I haven't checked the chat in a while. Hopefully I haven't gone robot or anything. Let's see. Somebody making a joke about Black Cat and Black Widow. Okay. How long have I gone on here? About 30 minutes. Yeah. Probably going to wrap this up here shortly. Just because I got out about all I wanted to say for today. Let's see what we got going on here. Somebody says they have a church and a movie theater. It works just fine. Actually, that would, from a purely pragmatic standpoint, that would work out pretty well. You got the seating built in there. Got a really nice big screen. If the pastor needs to throw up any kind of PowerPoint presentation during the, any kind of visual aid during the service, that pragmatically speaking, that actually works pretty well. Let's see. Somebody says opinions on Jack Donovan. I don't really, and they say, have you read Jack Donovan's book, The Way of Men? Yes, I have read The Way of Men. The Way of Men is a very good book for understanding just basics of masculinity, which is ironic if you know anything about Jack's personal life. But it's a very solid book. It's a very good read. My personal opinions on Jack are, I've had him on the show before. He's been nothing but pleasant and nice to me. I obviously have a great deal of differences with him. But he seems like an honorable enough man. I wouldn't necessarily put him in charge of anything, but I have no interest in throwing him out of a helicopter either. I just have honest disagreements with him. Let's see. All right. Well, all right. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up then. Kind of a short stream, but that's basically all I wanted to say, and I'm not going to just go on and let it, let it just straggle on. Yeah. So if you enjoy the stream, the tip jars down below, tips of any size are greatly appreciated. Especially now, haven't found full-time work yet, and while the unemployment pays the bills, things are considerably tighter than they were. So yeah, appreciate any kind of tip there, folks. And that's about all we got for tonight. Thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed the little show, and Bechtloff out.